Welcome to the Spirit of a Badass, where we celebrate stories of courage, hope, and resiliency. I'm your host, Alecia Jacobson. Hey, badasses. Welcome to the podcast today. I'm super excited to do this. One, I haven't really recorded a podcast, it seems like, in forever. I was busy doing all the things of summer and then September. I don't know about you all, but September seems like one of the most insane months. Like May is crazy because you're kind of wrapping up school and you have all these like end of school year stuff. But September, I feel like, is almost worse. You're starting school, you've got all new schedules that you're not used to. And it's absolute insanity. There's back to school nights and then open houses, all these different things that you have to jam into September. So we are in October. I am grateful for October because that means there's no more September. And I'm recording this in the morning. And this afternoon, my husband and I are flying out to Sonoma for a long weekend. So I'm super jazzed about that. So things are really good. And I'm excited to give you this podcast today because this is a topic that I share on my Instagram and things like that. And every single time I mention it, I always get, tell me more. How do you do this? All this interest. So I thought, I need to do a podcast on this so I can share it with everyone. So what we're going to talk about today are weekly meetings. And it sounds kind of stupid and boring, but my husband and I started having weekly meetings, a couple of years ago, basically because our life was absolute chaos. And we needed a way to figure out all the pieces. So if you don't know, we have 6 children combined. He has 2, I have 2, and then we had 2. So we have 3 in high school, 1 in middle school, and then 2 now in elementary school. And as you can imagine, there is a lot going on all the time. And, we both have all our different things that we do with work, and there's just a lot. So I finally hit a breaking point and was like, I can't do this anymore because the absolute miscommunication that we were having, I was just getting so burnt out and frustrated that I would tell him things and, like the typical, it just seems so stereotypical. Like you tell your husband something and he doesn't listen and then it all gets effed up. So this was my solution. So the solution was we meet Sunday afternoons. And I'm going to tell you why at the end, why it's important that I picked Sunday afternoons. And we go over all sorts of things. So we pull out our calendars and go over what we each have going on for the week, what the kids have going on for the week. And one of the most important things is we can each say, I need this from you, or here's what's really important for me this week, or here's how I could use support and help this week. And that was really key because I felt like I was trying to keep everything kind of in my head, or I would just have expectations that weren't getting met. So that kind of miscommunication and those misfires that were causing tension and arguments, they diminished so greatly when we created this dedicated time to go over this. And we lock ourselves in our bedroom, got note pen and paper, and we shut out all the kids know we're having our meeting. It's not time to come in. We actually started doing it. We would go out to a coffee shop and do it there so that we really didn't have the distraction, but that doesn't always work. So the last one we actually did over chips and salsa at a Mexican restaurant. So that was a dinner one. So that worked really well. So you can get really creative with the way that you do these. But the whole idea is that you do it in a way that one works for you, but also what needs do you have that are not getting met? Where are those misfires in your partnership or in your household that are causing that you get pissed? And it's you don't have to be so irritated. And it's almost for every time you have a misfire, it's like a collected stone. And you're just carrying around all these little pebbles and stones of just irritation because you either voiced a request or, made an ask or whatever it was, and then it didn't happen. And usually it's because, a scenario where you're rushing out of the door in the morning, you're both heading off to work, you're getting your kids ready for school, and it's oh, don't forget, we've got blah, blah, blah. And guess what? Blah, blah, blah gets forgotten because you're already thinking of 20 other things. And it wasn't a dedicated time of this time is meant for planning out our week. It's like that email that gets sent or the calendar invite that gets sent or quickly saying it over dinner. But that's not, I mean, that works maybe sometimes, but what I've seen is that doesn't really work at all. And that by having this dedicated time to connect with your partner, some people also bring their families in on this with their children and coming in and just saying, like, what do you have? What's important for you this week? That's a really great thing. For many people, it's not something, whereas ours are just all over. So we haven't, I feel like that would be a huge mountain to climb just in itself. So that's not what we're doing. But many people have a lot of success doing that. And this is something that generally I eventually in coaching with my clients recommend to them because what I see with the women I work with is they are generally carrying all of the mental load. They have to figure out all of the birthday parties, what we're having for dinner, the grocery shopping, the calendars, the appointments, all of those things they are shouldering. And that gets to be a lot. And then they're irritated and pissed off because they have voiced this need to their partner and then their needs are not getting met. So when those things come up within coaching, I offer this. And let me tell you, it works all the effing time. And because you're taking this dedicated time with your partner, it's like you're both showing up with a willingness to one, communicate and two, figure out solutions. And that's the expectation of the meeting. And you want to set expectations. Like, what is it that you need out of these meetings? One thing my husband and I ran into was that it started to kind of get like an airing of our grievances. We were going through a fucking awful time. Just, you do in marriages, like there are the really great times and then there are the times where it's like, what the hell are we doing? And we actually paused our meetings because it just became like it wasn't serving the purpose. So we paused them and then we had to work on other things. And so we were still doing things, but it would just, you could tell it just wasn't doing what it needed to do. And that's okay too. What you want to make sure of is when you do this, that you're doing it with like openness and a togetherness. It's not a place of pointing out like you didn't do this or that. It's not for that because then you're not going to want to do it. And that's sort of where there was a couple weeks in a row where it was gross. And we both agreed, okay, this is not working right now. And then we came back to it and now it's working beautifully. So just keep that in mind that that's okay too, but be really clear of what your needs are and what you want to accomplish in this. So how do you know if this is for you? I mean, this is for you if you have more than one thing going on in a week. This is for you because there are so many moving parts that go into a relationship, that go into running a household, that go into staying alive. Like we have to eat food, all of the things. And if you can meet at a designated time and say, okay, I'm going to do this week. I have this really important meeting on Wednesday. I might need a little support in this way. Or if you can take dinner then on Tuesday so that I can be prepping for it. Or here's when I have to work late. And that way you both start on the same page. And you also have this sort of built-in empathy awareness of what your partner is showing up to the week in. And you can both show up to really support each other. And if you have kids or pets or things like that, you can show up and making sure that you're not having those misfires or forgetting the important things. A lot of details were just slipping through. Like I was so busy in the weeds of everything that some of the things I just wouldn't think of. And then they'd come up and I'm like, shit. And so these really helped me have that foresight and planning ahead when it came to our family stuff. And then me asking for help with the things that I needed and support with the things that I needed. And also my husband asking for the support and help with the things that he had going on. So this is for everyone. This is for everyone because we all have to eat. We all have schedules. When you're doing it though, so here is the important part. We picked the day that we both were feeling refreshed, rested. We had good dispositions, all the things. If you do this at a time where you or your partner, it's a crap time for you. Like if we did this at 7 p.m., no, thank you. I would just be like, I am worthless at that time. Or alternatively, if we did it like over coffee at 6 a.m., my husband would be like, he would not retain any of it. Like neither one of us are any good for anything at those times. So why 6 a.m. might be good for me, it's not good for him. So coming together with your partner and sort of designing what this looks like and when it works for both of you is extremely important. Like that is the number one. We do ours on Sundays, but I have a client who she did hers on Friday, or you can do it on Saturday morning. Sometimes Saturday mornings are like uber chill. Like that might be a good time for you and your partner, but doing it at a time that works for all people. And if you're doing it with your family or you have kids, that is something that you want to make sure it also works for them because I mean, I have teenagers and generally they're not up at certain times of the day. I'm not staying up till 11 o'clock at night to do it with them either. So really considering all people involved and when are the good times that work for them to do it is super important. Also designing how do you want this to look because having a purpose for meeting is super important. Kind of like when in my coaching, we called it like a designed alliance. Like, how are you going to show up and what are sort of the rules of engagement for it? Those are two really important things to make sure that it is successful. And then you can go ahead and apply the weekly one to a monthly one. We always make sort of monthly goals and then we reflect back. So just like when I coach with somebody, every single session, we reflect back on the last session and see what worked, what didn't work. We do the same thing in this meeting. So I keep a notebook and I reflect back. Okay, here's what our goals were. Here's what we had last week. Are there any sort of unfinished business that we need to pull in to this week? And then kind of making it from there. That's how we would always start is reflecting on the previous week. And then same thing for the month. We would reflect on the previous month and then anything that maybe didn't get done or was like, yeah, that really didn't work, that we would pull it forward if needed. This is also something really that would work for like the holiday seasons when things get kind of, stressful and you're just everything is sort of on overload. This would be a really good added bonus for you to add in. So I hope this was really helpful for you today. And I would love to hear if you decide to add this in, I would love to hear how it goes. You can go ahead and screenshot the podcast that you're listening to on your phone and post it on social media. Tag me, let me know how it goes. Share it with your friends because this makes such an impact on people's relationships, a positive impact in reducing stress and that tension of miscommunication that I think everyone should be doing this sometime in their week, whatever works for them, because it is just such a great tool. So I would love to hear how it works for you. So go ahead, screenshot it, share it on social media, tag me in it, and send it off to a friend that you think would appreciate having these weekly meetings. All right. Thank you for joining me here today, and I will see you next time. Spirit of a Badass is a Lit Path Studios podcast and is produced by Jamie Gale and Alecia Jacobson. Music by Shane Ivers. We'll be back with another inspiring interview. Until then, keep your spirits high and your energy badass.